Welcome, all souls. This is Mary Magdalene, my fourth sermonette, my second or third today, actually, since I did one in the middle of the night. The time is of essence. The Lord is this passion that you have in you when you're a believer. The Holy Spirit compels us, drives us, and He has been anchoring me on Ezekiel 8, 9, 10, and 11. And it's about the time that the Lord took Ezekiel by his lock of hair and took him to see what was going on in the temple. And he says, "Son of man, do you see what they are doing, the great abominations that the house of Israel commits here to make me go far away from my sanctuary?" He couldn't be in the sanctuary because it was so defiled by what they were doing. "Now turn again, you will see greater abominations." So at this point, and you may remember this, he has to dig through the wall and through a door. The Lord instructs him to do that. And it seems that they're doing it in hiding because this door is behind a wall that he has to dig through. So these men, these faith leaders, it's not just about Israel and temple. It's a type and shadow for what is going on in the church. Nothing new under the sun. It repeats itself. So they were doing this in hiding. This is going on right now in our 501c or C3, churches around the world, and in our temples, in our synagogues, in all kinds of worship places that are not of God or have lost their way. And this is what the Lord said to him after that: "Go in and see the wicked abominations which they are doing." So I went in and I saw, and there every sort of creeping thing, abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel portrayed all around the walls. And there stood before them 70 men of the elders of the house of Israel. And in their midst stood Jazaniah, the son of Shaphan. Each man had a censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Then he said to me, "Son of man, have you seen what the elders of the house of Israel do in the dark, every man in the room of his idols? For they say, the Lord does not see us. The Lord has forsaken the land." Here we go again. Back to the time of the golden calf and Aaron. Repeats itself, and it's going on right now. I mean, we just imported the Arch of Baal. They call it Palmyra to throw you off, whatever. Evil has so many names. They did it in London. Why? It's a name. The sculpture of Baphomet is now in, I think, 3 places in the United States. And God knows how many places all over the world. But, I mean, the idols are replete everywhere. The symbolism, the occult symbolism is just everywhere. And the Lord hates it. And you're going to find out what He's going to do about it. But He continues and He says, "Turn again, and you will see greater abominations that they're doing." So He brought me to the door of the north gate of the Lord's house, and to my dismay, women were sitting there weeping for Tammuz. Well, Tammuz is a counterfeit of Jesus. Tammuz is a Sumerian god who actually had a crown of thorns, and apparently died and was resuscitated. A complete counterfeit of Jesus, even having been born in a cave in Bethlehem. Is the lore about this Tammuz, and we are worshiping, not we, but the world is worshiping a counterfeit of Jesus, and a counterfeit of the Father in heaven when you worship a man who calls himself a father. I'm not going to go down that road right now. Then He said to me, "Have you seen this, O Son of Man? Turn again. You will see greater abominations than these." So He brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and there at the door of the temple of the Lord, Between the porch and the altar were about 25 men with their backs toward the temple of the Lord and their faces toward the east, and they were worshiping the sun toward the east. Well, how much worship of the sun do we have going on today? Worship of Horus, for instance. In many manifestations and different names, this is very much what is going on in New Age, in Eastern faiths, in Hinduism, Buddhism, etc., 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 etc. So he said to me, "Have you seen this, O Son of Man? Is it a trivial thing to the house of Judah to commit the abominations which they commit? For they have filled the land with violence. Then they have returned to provoke me to anger. Indeed, they put the branch to their nose. Therefore, I also will act in fury. My eye will not spare, nor will I have pity. And though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, I will not hear them." So, what happens after that? And this is really very much the state of the world that we're in right now, what's happened to Christianity and how it's evaporating into this counterfeit horror that it is all over the world, in the ecumenical movement, the salesmen that are going on for the Pope telling everyone that they're truly Catholics and to come back home. I don't even want to go into that. That's a whole other episode, a longer one. So, what happens is that 6 men show up, 5 with battle axes and 1 with an inkhorn. These are God's men, God's angels. I don't know if they're angels with wings, but they're God's representatives. And he tells to the writer with the inkhorn at his side, he says to him, "Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and put a mark on the foreheads of the men who sigh and cry over all the abominations that are done within it." People, if you do not sigh and cry right now over the state of things, you have something to worry about. If you don't know what's going on, if you don't see what is going on, and you're distracted and entertained and removed from what is going on and say, "Well, what does that have to do with me?" and you're not sighing and crying over what is going on in America and the world and in Europe, then you're not going to get that mark. You do not have that seal. What is really stunning in the judgment that the Lord exacts on Jerusalem for this terrible abomination is very interesting, because I've always said the church will be judged first. Here we go again. Type in shadow. And churchmen, church elders, church leaders, hear this. Okay? Because here it is. It says it. Utterly slay and begin at my sanctuary. It says, don't come near anyone on whom is the mark, but begin at my sanctuary. So they began with the elders who were before the temple. Then he said to them, defile the temple and fill the courts with these slain. Go out. And they went out. And then they went after the corrupt citizens of the city. So the elders were punished first with death. So, some people will think he's such an unjust God, but the Lord has created such a beautiful world, an Eden to live in. And again and again and again, he's had to cleanse us and save us from ourselves. Now, I don't even see a description of what we're experiencing in the world today. What we see, it's worse than that. We live in Sodom and Gomorrah. We have children that are being infanticided, their parts sliced up and sold for profit. Never mind abortions. Millions and millions of children being murdered, when in fact these souls were created from the one cell that they were by the Lord. We have that. We have mocking and scoffing of Christians, persecution of Christians, murdering of Christians, real true believers who will hold the faith as their heads are being cut off. And we have adultery and fornication and abuse of little children and torture. Adults, leaders, not just adults, leaders of this world taking pleasure in watching the fear and torture of children and murder in rituals. And this is all being related to the people who are in Washington, D.C. now. It's in the WikiLeaks revelations. Podesta, one of the most powerful men in Washington, running Hillary's campaign. I don't want to get political. I'm just saying this kind of fornication and perversion and iniquity, this darkness, this satanic, really, satanic is the only word. This dark, demonic behavior is at the heart of the centers of the world that lead the world. We live at the darkest times, perhaps in history. Sodom and Gomorrah were a couple of towns. Nineveh was a city of 120,000 people. This is over the whole world. Time is here, folks. And the Lord just brought me to these passages. I'm not even finished. There's not enough time available on YouTube to say what I have to say. But I'll tell you, to be honest, I can't stand living in this world. I can't open a paper. I haven't watched television for 2 years. I can barely stand seeing any more videos from the brethren about these things. I don't need to know anymore. I imagine it's worse than I already know. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I can't stand living here. So frankly, I gotta be honest with you. If Hillary wins by stealth, by theft on Monday, it doesn't matter. The Lord appoints it. It only means that he's coming sooner. So it's good news. If Trump wins, it's good news because then we get a little bit more time. But the end is near. Trump isn't going to fix all this. The Lord is going to have to sweep this place. He's going to have to take us with him first, and then he's going to cleanse. We're there. We're on the winnowing floor. Sorry, I'll say that again. We're on the winnowing floor. Wheat from the chaff, goat from the sheep. And I have anger, if you hear it in my voice. I have anger. I just cannot believe what is going on. I cannot believe how easily men have given themselves up to the dark one. For what? For a paycheck? For food? For vanity? It's sickening to me. I'm angry. And the Lord told me it was okay if I was angry. He told me not to let myself go to sleep at night with that anger. So I'm dishing it out on you right now. We need to pray, people. We need to warfare like we've never done in our lives. We never knew this was coming. Now we know. So God bless you all. I will come back with more encouraging messages. I have so much coming in from the Lord and the Bible. So God bless you all. Keep a smile because He is near.